Hey, what's up, everyone? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. All right. 1976 like dollars. You got them? This video is probably for you. Pretty big reason why we're talking about this coin. And it's probably worth mentioning that it's probably not a bad time to talk about the Bicentennial coins anyways. Specifically in this video, we're focusing on the Eisenhower Bicentennial coins. Okay, they're going to have the dual date. They're 1976. They're quite popular even today. They're even more popular today, where, this is the 200-year anniversary of our country. And as of the taping of this video, we are about 4 months away from the 250th anniversary. They call that the semi-quincentennial. It's going to be a pretty big event. Lots of new interest in the bicentennial coinage. Most notably, the Eisenhower dollars. Okay, we have a pretty awesome one here for you. You're probably already reading it on screen. This is a 1976, no S. We've seen these types before. First one on an Eisenhower dollar. This one is actually a silver proof. I guess you could say if it was intended to be in a what they call a brown box, that's where it would be, because that's normally where you would find the silver proofs, is in the brown boxes. However, this one comes with a pretty interesting story and a price tag so unbelievably ginormous that it might make you guys go and check out your Eisenhower collection, because you never know if one of these might be popping out. Now, it's quite scarce, I will say. These are, as of right now, it's unique. There's only one known example. And that's why PCGS has given it kind of like this, I'm going to say, temporary price tag of $850,000. Okay, if that isn't enough incentive for you guys to check out your brown box Sykes and maybe even your regular proof sets, I don't know what is. Could there be another variant on the clad strike proofs? Could there be a Philly or Denver strike without a mint mark? Now, of course, we know the Philadelphia's struck coins don't have mint marks anyways. Kind of a moot point at that point, but mostly the proof coins are the ones that are worth double checking, because they were all produced at the San Francisco Mint. Or were they? What if I told you that this particular coin was not produced at the San Francisco Mint? Yet, however, it was found in a department store in 1977. That kind of raises the stakes a little bit, and even probably has a really good story to go along with it. All right. So this is on PCGS's website. This is the what they call the plate coin. This is the OG, the original photos that they took of this discovery piece. And as you can see right here, right above the date 1976, there was supposed to be a mint mark there, and there isn't. It's pretty plain to see. And we also know that this one is proof. All right, so when we scroll down a little bit here, it gives you just all the information. These are 40% silver in theory. However, this one is quite interesting because this one is a completely different composition. This is 0.800 fine silver, and not the 40% silver that we all know is supposed to be on either the proof or the uncirculated silvers. So this one, quite interesting. But is it any more different than the 40%ers? Is it a different look, other than the fact that it did not have a mint mark on there? We've seen other coins with the missing mint mark, proof coins, and one very, very notable business strike coin I hope you guys are looking for today, for all you roll hunters out there. They're supposed to have S mint marks if they're produced at San Francisco. During the 70s, especially this time, with the bicentennial coinage being produced for collectors, the proof coins, and the 40% uncirculated types were all produced at the San Francisco Mint. Okay, so the saga continues. There is your price guide value, $850,000 right there. One known example in proof 66. But there's got to be more, right? There's more information. We click or we roll on down a little bit further, and distinguished PCGS historian Jaime Hernandez had done a pretty tremendous write-up on this, where essentially this particular coin, the 1976 Type 2 proof bicentennial Eisenhower dollar coin without an S mint mark, is probably the rarest non-error modern coin in existence. Incomprehensively, all other known 1976 bicentennial proof Eisenhower dollars bear an S mint mark, as they were all produced at the San Francisco Mint, right? That's what I just said. October 18, 1973, the U.S. Mint held a design contest offering a $5,000 reward for each design chosen for the new 1976 bicentennial quarter. $50 and $1 coins. On March 6, 1974, the winners were announced, and Dennis R. Williams' Liberty Bell and Moon bicentennial design was chosen for the Eisenhower dollar. I'm willing to bet that you guys didn't know that they actually had an open design competition, which is cool. They actually still do it to this day. But I think you have to go through the CCAC in order for that to occur. August 12, 1974, the three winning designers of the bicentennial coins were allowed to strike trial-proof coins at the Philadelphia Mint. That's interesting. Well before the bicentennial coins went out to the public, since these trial pieces were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, they did not contain the S mint mark. Makes sense. These trial strikes without S mint marks were then sent to Bal Harbor, Florida, to be displayed at the ANA convention. Mary Brooks, one of the mint directors of yore during that time, mint director at the time, indicated that the coins displayed without the S mint marks were destroyed and replaced with coins bearing the S mint mark once they arrived at the mint. All right, so, and then a couple additional sets were presented to President Gerald Ford at the time, but those particular sets had an S mint mark. Another set was also struck as a specimen set and presented to the White House on November 13, 1974 by the mint director at the time, Mary. The three designers of the bicentennial coins were then presented with proof examples in special display holders, and these coins also bore the S mint mark. This is only half of the story. Wow, that's only half the story, huh? As the original reverse design was then changed sometime in the middle of 1975. That's why we have a Type 1, Type 2 reverse. We'll get into that in a little bit. Williams confirmed that he received a call from the Philadelphia Mint chief engraver Frank Gasparo asking if it would be okay to change the reverse design lettering to improve the striking quality and to facilitate minting procedures at the Mint. Thereafter, the U.S. Mint began producing Type 2 Eisenhower dollars. Type 2 coins display thinner lettering on the reverse of the coin. I have a great little photo display showing the difference between the Type 1 and Type 2. You're going to see that here momentarily. There is no mention as to whether the proof bicentennial dollars with the Type 2 reverse design were ever produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The only confirmations indicate Type 1 proofs were made without mint marks for presentation and promotional purposes, but there is no mention as to why the Type 2 no S Ike were produced. Kind of a little bit of a mystery here. However, since Frank Gasparo was consulting Williams on the modifications for the new bicentennial Type 2 dollar design, or redesign rather, it is very possible Gasparo struck a trial piece or trial pieces at Philadelphia Mint to determine if the new Type 2 design would work. Okay, so that explains why the one example exists today. $850 freaking $1,000. Life-changing money. So here's where it gets interesting. Okay? And this is why I'm telling you guys to look at your collection to see if you have this one. Today, we do know there is only one 1976 Bicentennial Type 2 proof dollar known to exist. This colossal coin was found in 1977 in a Woodward and Lathrop department store in Washington District area. Incidentally, since Mary Brooks was involved in producing several promotional sets and presentation sets, she could have easily ordered a set of the Type 2 example and presented it to someone in Washington. Perhaps this coin was presented to a member of Congress or someone in Washington as a presentation piece, and the recipient then spent it, having no idea that this coin was different from all the others that were going to be produced. And we've heard this time and time before, where, rarities become presented to political figures and important, statutories and various other people, and then they end up spending the things, or their kids end up buying an ice cream. We've heard that with a certain Barber dime at some point in the past. Kind of crazy, right? How things like that happen. The unique 1976 No S proof Type 2 Eisenhower dollar now resides in a PCGS holder graded as PCGS Proof 66 Cameo. The coin is currently owned by Mitchell Spivak, modern coin expert for wondercoins.com. And then he goes on to mention that it is the most unique coin in modern rarities, especially those that exist without a physical mint market. We have a number of them to show you in case you guys need a little bit of a refresher of what exists out there in the world today, and they're all expensive. They're all kind of like, if you came across it, congratulations, you just made a boatload of money type kind of finds. It is evident that the Type 1 No S-likes were produced for presentation pieces, and according to Brooks, they were destroyed for the Type 2 Bicentennial Proof Eisenhower dollar. There was no mention of why it was produced, right? I mean, stuff like that happens all the time where they produced X amount of them. They don't even freaking know if they produced 1 or 10 of them, So if they don't know that, then they won't know if they were ever destroyed or confiscated, But this miraculous coin does exist. Today we have the honor of having such an exceptional and unique example as a testament to represent the 200th anniversary of this country and American numismatics. That's fantastic. Kind of cool, to see that, to see this thing even exist in picture form. I've heard about this one for a number of years, and then now we get to see it, right here. This was a recent ad to PCGS's website, however, and that's why I'm able to talk about it. They have since pitched and promoted it, across social media as well. But I figure I'd give my 2 cents on it since, we do talk about great findings and stuff that, could possibly be out there. Now, there could be no other examples out there, but heck, a coin that has a tentative value of $850,000, I would say it's worth just a checkup on what you have. I'm not saying you guys need to drop everything right now and, focus entirely on trying to find this coin at coin dealers, at coin shows and things like that. But at least be aware that this one even exists. All right, so here are some other similar types of coins that are missing mint marks. Of course, we all know the 1968 Roosevelt dime. This is a proof-struck coin. We've talked about this one forever. These are supposed to have an S mint mark because they were produced at the San Francisco Mint. All right. Again, it's a proof coin. Proof. These are made for collectors. Therefore, they are found in proof sets. This one right here, graded by NGC, and it says right on the label, 1968 No S. Proof 68, CAC certified. These coins right here have kind of like a price range of about $20,000 to $35,000. Now, what it takes to get up to that higher level has everything to do with the grade. Proof 68 is like a very nice high grade, very lofty grade that will command like that $30,000 to $35,000 price tag, and maybe even more too. Depending on, a few factors, like how the market is on such coins. But the market has always been strong. And it's been strong for about the last 10 years on the 1968 proof, no S, Roosevelt dime. Okay, here's another one here. You guys know this one, the 1990 Lincoln Memorial Set. These were produced at the San Francisco Mint. Guess what? They're all supposed to have a permanent S right on the coin. Why doesn't this one? For the very same reason. It was accidentally left off of the working dies, much like the 1968 Roosevelt dime that we looked at there. So this particular coin right here can be found in a 1990 proof set. All the coins produced at the San Francisco Mint. So they're all supposed to have a physical S mint mark. This particular coin I've seen sold raw and I've seen sold graded. I've seen these hit as high as $5,000 to $5,500 for a proof 70, because proof 70s does exist on this particular coin. But the kind of like average on a graded piece, maybe in a 68, is usually about $2,500. Not too shabby for a little, hunting around. And people are selling this coin raw in the original proof packaging. Like they didn't even crack it out to send it off for grading. They sell it raw. The raw examples sell for between $1,500 to $2,000. Okay, another big coin to be on the lookout for. Here's another one right here, another proof one. 1971 Jefferson nickel without the S mint mark on this one. This is another big missing mint mark boo-boo. That is a great treasure hunt for a lot of people out there that love hunting through and cherry picking proof sets, because there's a lot to look out for. Proof sets are not perfect collectibles, right? As much as we want to believe on how white glove these things are, I guarantee you there's a lot of double the dies to be found. There's a lot of things like this where the mint mark's missing off of them. And, another great reason to double check your proof sets. The last time I checked, a 1971 proof set can be purchased today for between $6 to $10. So, it's one person's trash and it can be your treasure. If they don't know what to look out for, then they're going to lose out on some pretty big findings. This particular coin right here, again, has a value of between $3,000 to $5,000. The grade plays a huge component into this. The higher the grade, the more that's worth, That's just good old numismatic economics. Here's one here that can be found straight out of pocket change. I have actually found one of these. 1982 Roosevelt dime, circulation strike. These are supposed to have a P mint mark, a Philadelphia mint mark. These were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and they were supposed to have a P mint mark right above the date. This one does not have it. This is the one lone circulation strike that we know of today that is missing the mint mark. And regular raw examples, and keep in mind there's a weak and a strong strike of this coin, they kind of fluctuate between $100 to $250, $300 raw. Again, condition plays a pretty big component here. Nice high grade specimens can get up to about $2,000 to $3,000. Another big one to find there. And of course, the biggest one until the Eisenhower dollar was, talked about, graded on PCGS's website, is the 1975 Roosevelt dime, right? This is the one that you guys have heard countless times from not only myself, but also other numismatic content creators here on YouTube and beyond. The 1975 no S Roosevelt dime. This coin, by the way, is a proof and not a business strike. That's where a lot of people get kind of caught up with this one, because the Philadelphia struck coins don't have a mint mark either. But you could totally tell the difference between a proof struck coin, which is very high quality and it looks all mirrored out, compared to a regular pull out of pocket change 1975 coin. It's polarizingly different, and please do not mistake one for the other. This is the proof version missing the S mint mark. $500,000 is what these normally go for. This particular one, by the way, sold on Great Collections just last year for $506,000. So this was the heavy hitter. And then now we have this Eisenhower dollar trial strike that there could be more of them available, because the one did end up in a department store out of all places. So So since we're on the subject of bicentennial coins, it helps that your efforts will pay off if you know about all of the different variances and different types to look out for. Because I'm going to say outside of the 1972 Type 2 reverse, the 1976 bicentennial coins have a whole lot to look for. Again, we talked about the two different reverse types that can be found on the circulating coins, and also the clad proofs, the Type 1 reverse and the Type 2 reverse. Here's just kind of a little snippet of some of the most realized sales within the last like 10 years. And you can see the prices are incredibly high, keeping in mind that they made clad coins and they made the 40% silvers in both uncirculated and in proof. There's a lot of like different types to look out for here. Do you grade them? Do you not grade them? You know, it is the question here. And if you can afford to roll the dice on grading one that looks like it could be at its highest or finest, I would certainly encourage you to do so, because that's what I would do. But again, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to pull out a second mortgage just so you can grade like 100 of these things. But these silvers in Mid-State 69 are stupidly expensive. This one's selling for $19,000 back in 2023. The top one there in a Perfect Proof 70 is a clad version. That one sold about a decade ago for $22,550. The regular circulating strike coinage, again, has everything to do with the reverse type. And just like blisteringly high grade examples of either the Type 1 or Type 2. The Philadelphia coins are worth a lot more money because they're garbage quality. Those planchets were not very good, so finding one that will grade out 67 or at anything above 65 is a heck of a challenge. But see, we're talking 5-figure price tags across the board on a lot of these circulating clad types. So, I mean, if you have BU rolls of these things sitting at home, but that maybe you know a relative had given to you, a dad or an uncle or a grandpa, you know, because a lot of people at the time did not circulate these, and oftentimes you'll find like actual bank wrapped sealed rolls of these coins, and especially the Bicentennial, they made a whole bunch of these because these were made for collectors. All right, but at the same time, let's not kid ourselves here. These things were large and in charge. They were a magnet for contact marks, and that's part of the reason why that they are so challenging to grade. You know, 1 or 2 contact marks could take a coin that could possibly grade 67 and plummet it all the way down to 64. So, you know, again, finding that one example that is clean. I mean, the prices are huge here, guys. I shouldn't have to tell you guys that Eisenhower coins are big money today if given the right grade. All right. So here's a circulating strike 76D. This is a Type 2 reverse. It's got the skinnier letters on the reverse. This is actually a really nice example. These coins, when they're coming out of the roll paper, or maybe if they're sitting in an album, will tone really nicely. And because they're so big, they have that opportunity to react to the acidity and the sulfur of the paper stock that the album, you know, possesses. So they're really nice coins. So there's been a lot of hate on these because, you know, it's like when you compare it, you have to compare it to Morgan and Peace dollars. And then there's so much love for the Morgan and Peace dollars that this has been an afterthought. But I'm here to tell you that Eisenhowers are starting to gain little baby steps in today's market. People are gravitating toward this coin the same way that people are starting to collect into Roosevelt dimes again because of the 2026 semi-quincentennial event. Again, the rising tides bring up all the ships, and Eisenhower dollars, the bicentennials specifically, are gaining lots of traction today. And then finally, there is your difference. Okay, the Type 1 reverse, the Type 2 reverse. The Type 1 reverse, as you guys know, intended specifically for the silver strikes, whether they're the uncirculated or the proof ones. They said that it was their original reverse design, but wanted to tinker with doing like thinner lettering because it was better to strike those up. Whereas the chunkier, thicker lettering required more pressure on the strike to achieve a hammered strike. So that's why, yet again, another reason why the Type 1s are so scarce at high grades in today's secondary market, especially if you're cherry picking raw examples out of like mid sets or proof sets. They could be quite challenging. So that's what I wanted to talk about on this one. I would say, double check your guys' proof sets, your silver proofs, to see if any of them are missing a mint mark. Because if you do, you might have the second example of this rare 1976 trial strike that's valued at $850,000. Such a huge coin, lots of potential, a lot of like, just like, what would I do with that kind of money? I would say, probably a vacation is in order. Maybe you could take a year off from your current, 9 to 5. You could, pay it forward, give someone in need a few bucks in the process. But man, $850,000 is life-changing money, whether we want to admit it or not. And, this is one that I would say is going to be in the record books. This might be the only time that we talk about this coin on Blue Ridge Silverhound's channel. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. You guys have been fantastic as usual. Thank you again for all the views and support. I hope to see you guys soon. Feel free to comment, ask questions in the comments. All right, I will see you guys later.